Well, by the time you wait for the overhang to pass, it's usually a little late. So if you like the price now, just go for it. You know, hard enough to find a stock you like. Oh yeah, we should short AMC. Should we short GameStop? I feel like we should short more quantum too. How about Rocket Lab? What do we do with Rocket Lab? We got to remove it from the bag 7, I think. All right, I'll announce the rebalancing. I should call up Saylor and the MicroStrategy Investor Relations team and tell them they've been added to the bag 7. And do they have any comment? How funny would that be? Bagahondro. It honestly would be really funny to be like, oh, you know, I'm calling from 𝗘𝗍𝗘 Index, the index division of 𝗘𝗍𝗘, and we form indices, and we're launching an index, and happy to announce that you're going to be a key member of the index. Oh, great. You know, if you could put it on your website, that'd be nice. S&P down 3.9%. Okay, this is enough. That's enough. That's enough. You guys want to see me YOLO? You guys want to see me YOLO? I'm up 1%. I'm up 1. I can afford the YOLO. No, you idiots. You asked me for... I gave you the opportunity. I said, do you want to see a DGen YOLO account? Do you want to see a boring account? Or do you want to see something in between? You voted for in between. I'm giving you in between. I'm showing you that you can make money in the stock market without huge amounts of risk. You want a YOLO that is, you basically go to the horse track, go to the casino. Got to be slow and careful with your investments. Yeah, you should get out oversized, I think. I mean, I guess, what I would do is I'd probably buy the SPY 500 0DTs, something like that. Maybe the 505s if you were feeling really spicy. What are the 500s trading at? Depends on the price too. What's the 500? Where are the 500s trading? $16? I'm talking about the SPY 500 calls. SPY. 16 is cheap. Oh, I'd buy that. You're definitely going to get a bounce. You guys want to see me buy one contract? I don't know, even one contract's too risky. I need half a contract. This is how it begins, Not approved for options. Okay, I got to call Schwab. That's my dad in heaven saying, no, son, stop it. My dad changed the Boolean to false. He's like, oh. Went to the Schwab database. He's like, no, not today. Yeah, I'm going to be thinking about that Resolute all day. I actually kind of like it. RZLT. OMON, Ryan, but our options product isn't where it's got to be. SPY equity, OMON. You'll get a bounce. You always get a bounce. It's a better chance than not. Yeah, maybe Perry trading below cash. Yeah, Costco holding up. It's, kind of a defensive play, but it's very expensive. 𝗘𝗏 down 9%. I mean, nothing's going to change about the generics business. Yeah, some of the biotechs might start. I mean, I'm talking about a small bounce, like 50 basis points, 1%, not a 3% bounce. Nah, I don't think you should cover quantum. Powell has the opportunity to do the funniest thing of all time. Trump's probably yelling at him right now to cut rates. This is unprecedented. 10% move in 2 days. See, market neutral gives you peace of mind. The thing about market neutral is you never make any money. I don't know, Zane. I think we're going to try to upgrade the stream to a more like formal thing with like a producer and a studio and chyrons and all kinds of memes. I'm feeling like very low energy today. I don't know why. HIMS, we bought a small amount of this meme stock. Buying anything right now is a little bit treacherous. That's a quantum PR firm, exactly. SPY down 4.4% now. Amazing. Unprecedented action. Fed should do an emergency cut. That's the only thing that could save us. I remember that happened in March of 2000 or April of 2000. It reminds me of 2000, not 2008. They might have to do an emergency cut at this point. The markets are telling you something. So tariffs with a combination of increased liquidity is something that'll work. I don't remember the last emergency cut. I think it was probably 2008, but there's a lot of signaling of a recession, and that's the Fed has a tool they can use, so they should use the tool. Oh wow, IonQ down 17%, free fall. S&P down almost 5%, back to back 5% down days. 2 3 sigma events in a row, kind of a 9 sigma event, if you will. Very much close to unprecedented here. Our favorite short, D-Wave down 14%. Rigetti down 14%. These stocks are still very expensive. They can go down 90%. Let's not kid ourselves. Apple's still expensive. You know, most of these stocks are still very expensive. Costco's still expensive. Walmart's still expensive. Microsoft's still expensive. There aren't that many bargains, even though the market's down 10%. You make 1% every 4 days, you'll be a very rich man very quickly. Or rich woman, or rich they, them, depending on who you are here. I don't know if we're watching history. I think that we had 2 years of 30% earnings growth. So one of the ways you can think about that is, okay, let me give you a little canvas here. This is like my Picasso paintbrush. All right, so let's say you have earnings. How do we do this? Let's do it like this. Earnings and price. And here's, this is an arbitrary time, right? So this might as well say year 1 or 1990, it doesn't matter. And let's base this at 102,000, okay? So, you know, this is assume 20 times earnings is a normal price, which it isn't, but I don't know, let's say 18 times earnings will be forgiving. And let's say corporate earnings jump 8%. It's a good year for corporate earnings. And prices jump 8%. So this is your S&P, basically. P ratio is still 18%. Let's say the economy's red hot, earnings drop 10%, but prices jump 30%. Well, that's kind of what happened in 2023. The PE ratio is now 21%. Same thing happens again. Now the PE ratio is 25%. Market went down 5% twice, right? So let's do times 0.95 times 0.95. That's for here. Let's say earnings go up 1%, almost like a recession. Well, what's funny is that stocks are still more expensive than they were before. Even though that 2 years or 2 days of 5% losses make it feel like it's very painful. It's not. You know, let's say earnings drop 5% and the market drops 20%. You're still overvalued. And when there's fear, you go below the normal price, right? Fear means you will drop below normal. Even if earnings sort of come out of a rut, like up 5% or something, you know, another big drop is required, and then the market can go up. So you are here. you are here. This is what's in store. So that's kind of the way I look at things, you know, and you just have to not think of this as a dip. You know, you can't think of this as, oh, we'll be back to normal soon. There's no normal. You can't, you know, yeah, I'm just struggling for a really good analogy. It's I guess, like so many analogies I could pick, but they're all inappropriate. You can't do something that's, I don't know, it's kind of like maybe an alcoholic that drinks 10 units of alcohol a day, 10 vodkas, I don't know, 10 beers. Let's say they drink a liter of alcohol, and they say, I'm gonna you know, do half a liter. Well, it's still not normal. And you shouldn't be excited for the person if they're on a half a liter. And stock market's kind of the same thing. I mean, we're in crazy territory here. So the only thing that'll work is abstinence and cold turkey. It's market's just very expensive still. 10% is nothing, right? I mean, if it's a 10% off sale at the store, you kind of scoff at that. So it's not a great deal. You know, I need 50% off. And look, in biotech, like we were talking about earlier, I mean, biotech has this property where you need to shovel cash at it. Venture capital has this property where you need to shovel cash at it. I want to shout out to OpenAI. My girlfriend works there, and they just closed their $40 billion raise with Masayoshi-san right at the top. It's going to go down as a legendary deal right at the top. I mean, literally, if they 2 days later, Masa would be like, I don't know, man, the market's going crazy. I can't do this. How based is that? Yeah, I don't think they could close that deal today, right? Because it was Masa, but there's other investors there too. Nobody's doing a VC deal right now. Nobody. Market's down 10%. These investors are calling up the VCs saying, don't you dare invest in some 22-year-old startup. Look, SoftBank is what it is. You know, they make huge bets. Sometimes they're really right. Sometimes they're really wrong. In that case, they're going to be really right, but that's not that important. I mean, VCs, they're going to operate on fear too. I mean, they want to do right by their LPs. They're never going to have another fund. Their LPs say, cool it, stop calling capital. They're going to cool it and stop calling capital. Yeah, I don't know if the long SPY call is a good call, but if my degenerate senses are tingling, it feels like this is a little overdone. And if the Fed made an emergency move, we'd be flat on the day. And if Trump unwinds any tariffs or whatever, we'd also rally pretty hard. So you're kind of skewed to the positive here, at least temporarily and tactically. I still think the market's overvalued. Trump kind of can't flinch. He's kind of like telegraphed his move, unfortunately. So he's sort of boxed himself in a bit. But the Fed can move. Yeah, he's got to stand on business. And what have earnings done in that time? NASDAQ's up 135%. Are earnings up 135%? You get 50 basis points. Thank me later. Sell it now. Let's look at Nvidia. Shout out to the Nvidia old timers. 2.3 billion cap now. Fiscal 26 looking like 200 billion. Okay, look, the question is are you going to get, an AI world, an AI economy? Are you going to get humanoid robots? Or are you going to get just the whole world AI all the time on everything? If you get that, Nvidia's a double or triple. If you don't get that, I'd say look out below. 80%, Carl. But I just started this account. I mean, look, it's 20 times earnings. It's not like some crazy valuation. So it seems like a decent buy. But remember, it's cyclical. So if you're at a cyclical top, you don't want to be in Nvidia. But, they could easily, you could be getting it's very feasible that in 2 years you're going to kick yourself and say this is wild. We could have bought Nvidia at 10 times earnings. But it really is a function of, will humanoid robots come out from which company? We don't even know. But could it come out sooner from one of these companies? Will all of them need Nvidia chips, I would imagine? Are we going to get AGI? If we are using this many GPUs now, just imagine how many we get with AGI. So AGI is artificial general intelligence, and the idea is that, we could match human intelligence with these machines. I think we're already there, to be frank, and super intelligence may very well be the next pit stop. So I think AGI is not just achievable. I think we've achieved it, and I think the next stop is super intelligence, where you could have machines that could solve important, outstanding problems and things like that. Oh, NNVC is a fraud, man. I used to short NNVC like 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Well, I'm up to speed on Google, so I don't have to go too crazy with any forecasts. Google 151, 1.7 billion enterprise value. TTM free cash flow, 72. 24 times TTM free cash flow, including a huge AI spend, though. Don't count Google out of AI by any means. And growing 12%. Pretty good. See, the problem is people, I've seen a lot of you guys talk about the PE for Google, but the PE isn't right because you're not running depreciation or CapEx through there. So, you got to include that, because if you're looking at the PE, you're basically saying, I'm not looking at the pretty huge CapEx spend. Now, maybe that CapEx spend is a really great investment, but the other way to look at it is it's just a transition to where a lot of the value is going to be coming from hardware, which means if the value is coming from hardware, it's just a systematic shift in value from companies like Google to companies like Nvidia, where they're saying, I love you guys making software, but you're going to have to pay us. We're going to share this upside. Yeah, Meta too. And is it a new normal or is it a temporary spend? And that's why all of these companies, whether it's Google with TPUs or Meta or even OpenAI, they're all trying to make their own chips. And I don't know if Jensen's laughing all the way to the bank and saying, can they even do it? It's not easy to get capacity and get all that going. Yeah, of course, economic data is in the hopper. We actually have an economic data function that's in beta. There's nothing that we haven't thought of. We appreciate the input. Yeah, it's hard to make heads or tails of Google because again, that big depreciation expenditure, and they have to navigate the changeover to AI, which is probably a little bit less easy for them to, it's going to be more of a fee-based system than an ad-based system, and they're very geared towards the ad-based system. So I don't know if they're going to have the ability and experience to do that. ChatGPT has shown they can execute OpenAI. So they're selling pretty well. So I don't know, with the new FTC, maybe they'll be allowed to say buy in Anthropic, which for them is a relatively small deal. As crazy as that is, 'cause it's not that bad stoned. I like Sarepta, it's not that bad. Liver enzyme elevation is not big, bad, and scary. Yeah, Google can acquire Anthropic. I'm not sure it helps them that much, but they can. Anthropic's selling some product. They're not, Waymo's got some upside. All right, we're going to listen to Jay Powell. You got to do it. You got to cut the rates, Jay Powell. You got to do it. The people need it. Markets didn't care much for Jay Powell. S&P down 3.7% heading into the weekend here. Tesla's undervalued. You're asking me for my thoughts on Tesla, but you're telling me yours. It's about 100 times earnings. That Q1 was really bad. So I don't know if they're even a growth company anymore. It's hard to tell. It's hard to get too excited on Optimus and some of these other advances until there's some tangible progress. But sometimes by the time the tangible progress is there, you're already kind of in a stock's already moved. I wouldn't short it. I don't think that would be a good idea. But I'm not sure it's a screaming buy or anything. Yeah, you can go on my GitHub to get all these spreadsheets completely for free. Oh, Henry's the man. Henry is one of the most passionate entrepreneurs of all time. I'm not saying he hasn't made mistakes in his life. Henry built Broadcom with his two hands. Yeah, I'm trying to just do a metric I like to look at, trailing 12 free cash. And I like it. I've always loved Zuck, and I don't know what, everyone who's an old school Shkreli stream watcher knows how bullish we got on Meta when it was getting killed. But, it went on a generational tear afterwards. So it's sort of still on that generational tear. It doesn't mean, I love buying stocks after they've gone up. That's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with it. And a recession makes Zuck stronger. Yeah, that was one of my best calls ever. No, I think he's still putting a lot of money in VR. I think people understand it better now. And he's putting a lot of money in AI too. Yeah, I'll trade options. I'd like to get up a little bit and profit first. If IonQ if IonQ makes a working quantum computer by 2030, I will name the child IonQ. That does a useful. Yeah, I'll name him Chad Rigetti. It's a really funny company. So Facebook's TTM, free cash flow, in Q4 21, when they had revenue of $34 billion, okay, the free cash flow is $39 billion. Fast forward to today, 3 years later, revenue was $48 billion. Let's see what the TTM revenue here was. TTM revenue is 118 versus 164. I'm trying to figure out how much margins expanded. They expanded quite a lot. Let me see here. Let me try another thing here. Okay, 38% growth in free cash flow over 3 years. But let's do TTM revenue, which is really not often done. Okay, yeah, so basically no free cash flow margin expansion, which tells me that, they're sandbagging earnings a little bit by buying GPUs. And that, let's see, they do 180. Then you have to add back the losses from the Reality Labs. Hey, 18 times earnings, basically. What seems to be decent growth. Revenue is growing really fast right now, but they had a weird period there where that was when we bought it, when revenue growth was pretty dilapidated. We got some AI optionality. Yeah. You can look at EBIT, sure, EBITDA. There's a lot of ways to look at it, but I think you have one of the best management teams in the space, right? So to the extent the guy gets into payments or whatever, he can make a lot work. Yeah, VR, metaverse. I mean, there's nobody like Zuck. So it's a very safe company. That between that, Google and Nvidia, I mean, you can't really argue with the quality of these companies. The prices, you can argue a little bit. Like Apple, Apple I'm just skeptical on, I have to buy one share. How pathetic is that? Okay, we bought one share Meta. 508.76. Yeah, I mean, look, users, they've got every user on the planet. There's no more users. There's no more users to get. It's just about user minutes now. Almost every company is a one-trick pony. Yep. Microsoft is a rare exception. They didn't just stay within software, but mostly stayed within software. I mean, cloud is kind of a hybrid of hardware and software. Gaming is hardware. They do Surface. I mean, they wanted to be Apple for so long. The industrial companies are a little different. Yeah, Lander, that sort of means we're going to have a rally, doesn't it? Okay, you guys wanted me to look at Amazon. It's a great company. It's a decent price. The product, I want some long exposure. I don't want to buy SPY. I'm not saying this is a smart idea, by the way. Look, it's going to outperform my shorts. Don't try to tell me how to trade. You're here to watch and learn. Unless you want to go one-on-one with the great one. I'd love to do that. I'd go one against one of you guys, and the higher account value wins the whole account. You get the whole 30,000. Yeah, you can't go all in. It's going to be like a sharp ratio. I got short AVXL, long American Express, short Capricorn, long Google, long HIMS, short Humacyte, short INMB, short IonQ, long IVVD, long Meta, short MicroStrategy, long Nvidia, long Farming, short D-Wave, short Quantum Computing Inc., short Rigetti, short RXRX, long Resolute, long Sarepta, long Tarsus. That is the port. Oh yeah, the 𝗙𝗕𝗙𝗀𝗃 southern accent. That would be funny. Yeah, Ray Dalio is just getting beat up nonstop. Yeah, I just want to be market neutral, and I like Nvidia. They got a real story. Yeah, I don't know if Howard Marks, he doesn't have the personality. You need personalities. I'm probably going to go to WrestleMania, yeah. Try not to use leverage unless it's a emergency. Well, these are good questions. I like Meta, though. Just got to go one stock at a time. You can't rush it. All right, let's look at Amazon. $174 stock. 1.8 billion market cap. You should just ignore GameStop forever, please. Nothing good can come from it. If I wanted more beta, I just buy more. I mean, for more exposure. I mean, you don't need an ETF product to do that. Remarkable SPY down 4.7%. Our quantum stocks are getting slaughtered from down 11 to down 15. We'd love to see it. It's mostly a value investing approach, John. There's nothing too special about it. I mean, I think, while you're scrutinizing stocks, you are trying to, you're trying to make the best decisions you can, be as intelligent and logical as you can. It's fairly cut and dry. I think Big Pharma's okay. It's not good, it's not bad. It's a pretty steady Eddie kind of business. You see this year-over-year constant currency revenue growth for Amazon? It's almost eerie. You see this, chat? I highlighted it. It's almost strange. What if it turns out nobody? Exactly. Nobody's actually buying. It's a really well-managed business, okay? You're the only one. I like Sarepta. That's all I got. I don't know about position size. It's very risky. It's not like it's some kind of risk-free company. It's super risky. But, they do have the PMOs as a value buffer there, so. Yeah, they have to do reciprocal tariffs, because imagine he delists. Okay, you didn't want to drop the tariffs? No problem. Take Alibaba away. Take it away. Take it away. JD, Alibaba, Pinduoduo, get them out of here. And give me that TikTok. You want to play games? You don't have the cards. You know, Amazon's a special business. They have a lot of costs that they don't tell people about. They just lump them in, and it's one of their secret sauces, I think. That kind of behavior is just clown behavior. The more I get into crypto, the less the more it's just like, ugh. I don't think we're going to hit bottom in biotech for a long time until we have capacity reductions. There's a capacity problem in biotech. Yeah, Amazon doesn't let their true cash flow show. You know, that's the one thing you got to know about this business. It's very squirrely. It's kind of a competitive advantage. They don't want you to know just how profitable they could be if they wanted to. So like maybe a decent way to do it is just do gross margin. So 238 billion in gross margin, 8 times gross margin. I don't trust this, like this line. I trust this line, and probably they could get rid of half of this line and nothing would change. Yeah, it's like basically R&D. They just book it in some of these lines here. And you just think, look how much cash this is. I mean, this is 148 billion of OpEx. There's just billions in there. That's slush money. So you got to kind of keep that in mind when you try to value it, because it's like, all right, they have 70 billion in operating income, but how much of that 148 could get converted? Let's say half of it. I think it's less well run than some of these other companies in a lot of ways because it's just so hard to run. You know, AWS, I'm not even sure AWS is that well run. Most of their earnings are AWS. Most of the revenue is retail. I'll consider Amazon some further, but I'm not. No, I mean, AWS is important for them. AWS, look, I mean, there's good parts of AWS and bad parts. It's not perfect, but it's also not that bad. I still use AWS. 𝗘𝗍𝗄 runs on AWS. We are going multi-cloud. Big companies run all kinds of things.